Hello, oil pastel kindergartners. So here's our picture. I redrew it with pencil so that we could trace over because the Sharpie wouldn't really wouldn't translate very well. I have a set of oil pastels. Now there are two different types of pastels. Chalk pastels, which won't work during this. And those are kind of like chalk that you use on your driveway or on your sidewalk to draw pictures. And then there are these. These are oil pastels. The idea is that using an oil pastel will help build a little wall so that when we paint this picture next week, we will have the ability to keep, for example, yellow in our mouth and orange on our pumpkin and green in our grass. The colors won't mix. It's a technique called an oil pastel resist. It's a really easy way to help ensure we have a nice, clean picture. But, this is a very big but. Oil pastels, unlike crayons, can get a little messy. So let me demonstrate that on this piece of scrap paper. This is from my crayon video. Here is a piece of black oil pastel. Okay. It can smudge. It can move around a lot. It can make our fingers very messy. Okay. So when we trace, I want to trace in a very specific way. Okay. We're going to start at the top of our paper and work down towards ourselves. If we start at the top of our paper and work to us, we won't have any oil pastel down here to smudge. We'll keep all the messy stuff up here away from us. Okay, so if you watch the crayon video, I kind of stuck with one color at a time. First, I did the orange for the pumpkin, and then I went into the eyes, and then I went up to the stem. For this, we have to move around kind of in a different way. Okay, so we're going to start up here with our first thing, and that is our moon. My moon, I'm planning on painting it yellow, so I will grab my yellow oil pastel, and I will very carefully trace that moon. Okay. Now, I'm going to move to my green. I have two different green oil pastels. So one I'm going to plan on using for my stem. The other one I'm going to plan on using for my horizon line where the sky meets the ground. So I'm going to use this light green. And notice that I'm kind of going back and forth a couple of times. We don't want to have any gaps in our wall. This oil pastel will make a wall. We don't want to have any gaps in there. Okay, done with that green for right now. We're going to revisit it maybe in a second or two. It depends on how good of a job we do with our orange for our pumpkin. I'm going to go back to that black that I demonstrated with, and I'm going to trace our ghost with the black. We want them to stay white because I want this to be, I want mine, you could change it up. I want my ghost to be that classic kind of ghosty ghost shape. So I'm going to start by doing the outside. Okay, be very careful going in to do the eyes. Now you might have a smaller oil pastel than mine. These are really big. These are made by Cray-Pass. Normally I have Crayola ones. Those are really good. They tend to be a little smaller. I have smaller Cray-Pass ones that you'll be using here in school once we get back to it. Okay, now that's done. Now you see how we're working from the top to the bottom? We have nothing messy down here yet. Okay, so I'm going to continue on. So here is our orange now. Did I do the bottom part? No, not yet. You got to go back up here and fix that a little bit so they can touch. Okay. Remember, we want to make sure that all of our oil pastel lines, either they touch themselves by coming all the way around, or they touch another color like the green and the orange do here. We don't want to have that little hole so that the colors spread out. Okay. We're going to go through here and do our eyes. Now, if yours is like mine and you can still see some pencil line in here, that's fine. It kind of becomes part of our project. It's okay. Time to do the smile. I changed this one up from my original drawing with the Sharpie marker only because I saw how big these oil pastels are, and it would have been very hard for me to trace in there. Okay, now it's time to finish up our green. I'm going to use a different green. This one is a little bit darker. A little bit, Mr. Thompson. That's way darker. Okay. This is an important line because we want to have our grass be green and we want to have our sky be, I'll probably do either a blue or a purple. That way everything that we drew will still stick out. If we have a little hole in this line, some of that blue might mix in with our green. Okay, we don't want that to happen. Boom. So there we have it. Our oil pastel traced pumpkin and ghost and moon. If you added other things to it, pick colors for you to use for that. Now, oil pastels, as I demonstrated on here, they will smudge. So we need to put this in a safe spot where these won't smudge. Because if they do, it's going to be very hard to work on the painting part next week. If we are in school, I would take your projects back from you and I'd put them in our class folder. If you have a shelf that you could put them on or something that you could tape them to, like your refrigerator, that'd be great. Just get them up and away from us so we're not tempted to play around with the oil pastels. Okay, so next week we're going to come in and we are going to learn how to use our watercolor paintbrushes and our watercolor sets on how to paint. Okay, I'm going to show you how to hold our paintbrushes, our technique for using our watercolor paint sets. Okay, please wait for me to do that part because there are some things that I want to show you that are some pretty good tricks, just like this oil pastel, or if you watch the crayon one, the crayon trick. Okay, so have fun. Can't wait to see what step one looks like. Bye-bye.